really slow. All right, I think we're there. Let me turn the camera on. Hey, there we are. Okay, hi there. This is Theresa. We're going to do this again. We just went through this Facebook Live Ask Theresa segment on the wrong channel and no volume. So that was a problem. So if you're joining us, if you see this and you think you're seeing it twice, you are seeing it twice. This is Theresa Barron. I am with Take a Look Real Estate Brokers, and we are doing a segment called Ask Theresa. This is episode number 5. Is that right? Episode number 5. So, Aaron, are you hearing me? I need somebody to let me know if you're in the background. Okay, you can hear me. All right, wonderful. We did it by accident because we're not going and using the technology on Facebook. We're using a different technology to broadcast live on Facebook. And so we landed somehow on my personal page. And so we're redoing it because it is marketed through Take a Look Real Estate Brokers, even though we got, people watching on my personal page, but still we'll transfer it to the personal page. So if you saw it up there and then saw it disappear, it's going to be put back on the page, but from Take a Look Real Estate Brokers page, so that we direct people get the right traffic flow and all those good things. So today it's case study day for investors. And guess what we're going to share with you is how we helped one of my investors take $27,000, invested in a property for 4 years, make no repairs, receive $36,000 in rents, and then at the end of when everything was said and done, when we got done with this deal and so forth and so on, he walked away with a check for $92,000 less my real estate commission. So how's that? That is what we're going to talk about today. And I'm just going to tell you exactly how we did it, hoping to inform you, inspire you maybe, intrigue you, whatever, just get you excited about the possibilities, because it wasn't really big money. Most people have those kinds of funds in their 401k. A lot of people have those funds in an insurance policy. You can, if you have equity in your primary residence, you can get that type of money out of an equity loan. And some folks really just have that money sitting in the bank. So, but even if you didn't and you had to get a full-blown mortgage, you still would cash flow phenomenally in this particular deal. So the first thing we did is I was contacted by an investor who lived in the state of Washington. And, what his request was is that he just wanted to buy something that was cash flowing on a very consistent, very stable cash flow. And he really was looking for the Section 8 money. And if you know anything about Section 8, that money comes every single month by the first of the month, and it never fails. And mostly the tenants on Section 8 are not responsible for the largest portion of the rent. So you're normally going to be able to get very good cash flow from a Section 8 property if it's priced right, if the negotiation with Section 8 went right, and if all things are otherwise good. So in this case, I started searching and we found a property together. I mean, he and I were both looking and just kind of going through and weighing the advantages, the disadvantages of several different properties in the marketplace at the time. Now, this was 4 years ago. So we're in a different market right now, but I say this to demonstrate that it is possible. And since markets ebb and flow, what goes up must come down. So it will be changing again. It's just a matter of when. And if you're prepared right now, if you know about it now, then whenever you're ready, we can connect and we can do some business and see if we can get you where you need to be. So the first thing is that he took the $27,000 and had it available cash wise. And then we actually tracked down a property that was 1.25 miles from the campus area. And if you know anything about the campus area, you know that the values are extremely high. It is very difficult, and you may not cash flow for a few years, or it might take a dozen years to get your return on investment on those properties because they are just very, very expensive. And if you know anything about the campus area in Columbus, you also know that Ohio State has, they are attracting big ticket investors, not the little ones. So Ohio State has become basically a city all in of itself. I mean, they've got their own bookstores, their own grocery store, their own library. I mean, everything is pretty much contained, and there's a definite dividing line. So the new investors, people who want to get in on that particular market, we really have to look just outside of campus and look for what's going to be emerging, and a really, really good set of real estate professionals, or a real estate professional with a really good set of eyes, who's got an understanding of how this city is growing, can help direct you and help get you into the right area and the most likely area that's going to really perform for you over the next couple of years. So one thing I want to mention is that it's not what you hear about. It's not what I do, and what I teach people to do is not normally what you're going to hear about. A lot of times what we're hearing about are the quick flips and the fast cash and the hard money and things like that. That's really most of the people that I work with who have good money understand that you've got to work. You've really got to work from a different angle to not take on just a heck of a lot of risk. So the way I operate is less risky, but does provide a significant return on investment. So anyway, back to the case study, and this is a true situation. It's a true phenomena. We did find a property. It was $27,000. It was 4 bedrooms. It was 2 full baths. It was fully occupied. It didn't need any work. It had passed all of Section 8's requirements. And if you know anything about Section 8, they are going to have a whole list of things that need to be done in order to qualify the property for that particular program. And in this case, it was paying $770 a month. If you take those numbers and you multiply it times 12, he's getting 30% back on his investment in the first year. And that is, who does that? Who does that? 30% cash back in the first year. The second year, same thing. And because it is Section 8, third year, same thing. So it is amazing when you can get 100% of your return within just a 3-year span. That's good money. So on the 4th year, and he actually did keep it for the whole 4 years, actually 3 years and 11 months, something like that. In the 4th year, he got all his money back and has another $9,000 on top of it. So he's at 30% overall. When you look at his return on his money is 30%. Now, what happens is in December, late last year, I started to notice that the tax valuations, actually the preliminary tax valuations done by the county, came out in October, November last year. And what I noticed is that the value of the property, according to the tax assessor, which is always low, I mean, 9 times out of 10 is low, came out at $168,000. For me, that was one good clue. It was a clue that somebody was getting ready to do something in this area. So what I did is I gave a call to my client and I said, it looks like your values are going up. Be prepared. You're about to get a big tax bill. And he said, will you please do a broker price opinion on the property and tell me what kind of return I could get? What can I sell it for today? So we did. I did that broker price opinion to determine the value, which is simply a valuation. We look around in the marketplace to see in a 1-mile radius what has sold and how far has the productivity in terms of improving. How far has that come? Has it come all the way to his neighborhood or not? That's the question. And so what we did was we did that broker price opinion and then shared it with him and told him that the most likely sales price was somewhere around $100,000. Why? Because at this point you could no longer buy anywhere near campus. Campus was actually stretching out just east of Fifth Avenue. Downtown was coming north. I mean, in terms of what people perceive to be a downtownish area. And in addition to that, there were other signs like big corporate complexes being built one block away from the property. So that's a big deal. You know, just watching all of this movement, we also noticed that the infrastructure was being improved to look more like what you see in the campus zone. And we noticed that there were just new lights, some other things that were going on. New restaurants were being built. So just a whole lot of activity that leads one to believe that this area, the value is about to go up. It's about to be acceptable to a whole lot more folks, and it might be a good time to sell it. So I shared that information with my client, and he said, put the house on the market. So we did. We put it on the market early January, late December, early January, around that time. And within 1 week, we had an offer for $100,000. That goes to show you, and this is December when we did this. $100,000 offer in December in the middle of winter, and Columbus, Ohio definitely has snow and cold weather. So that's kind of, you know, most people are not trying to move in the winter, even though the market does continue. Most people are not looking to move in the wintertime. This buyer was a buyer who intended to buy at the $100,000 price point and put about $70,000 in the property. Had she been successful, she would have had a property then worth about 200 to 300, somewhere between 200 and 300. I'd say 225 almost immediately with the plans that she had. But unfortunately, on her deal, and it took us, we kept working with her, trying to help her to get into it. But on her deal, the appraiser that was assigned to her lender would not give her her value. He would not give her her value. So we fired that appraiser. Actually, her agent told the lender to fire the appraiser. We gave them new comps, and we hired a second appraiser. Second appraiser would not give us our value, would not give us any value. They just back out of it if they can't give you the value, because they just don't want to be the first ones to highlight that the area is now got this new value. We're talking about going from the highest price in the area was around $36,900, and we were now going to take this property without any substantial changes. Matter of fact, no changes, straight up to 100. We were doing it because of the market demand, not because of the repairs or upgrades or anything that we've done to the property. The market shifted, and that's a valid reason to raise value. If there's more demand, we can raise the value. So that's exactly what happened. During that period of time, while we were working on trying to get this appraiser to cooperate, there were other properties that began to surface on the market after this one landed on the market. And by the way, one of the other indicators that we did just let us know right away that this property was about to be a hot one was the fact that we had investors who were tracking down the owner, mailing letters off and asking if they could, you know, buy this property. So just doing all kinds of, you know, that's the next area. They're eyeballing it. People are watching, and they're actually mailing out letters and getting in touch with the owner, even though the owner, he's not in Columbus. He's in the state of Washington. So he doesn't really know. He has to rely on the eyes and the ears here in Columbus, Ohio, to give him really good advice and really good information. So with that said, that first offer didn't make it. It didn't make it. And it took us some time to, you know, just kind of release it. We did release it eventually after the third effort of getting it appraised. We let it go and then put it back on the market. And sure enough, we had, 15 showings in 2 days and another offer. And this one, we warned the agent in advance that she's going to need to talk to the lender to make sure they get a more open-minded appraiser to get this property appraised. And so that's exactly what happened. She found a way to get this lender to get the most liberal appraiser who was not afraid of recognizing what was going on in the market. And sure enough, that property appraised for $100,000. Now, there was one other hiccup. because we didn't do any work on the property and because we just never had to. The other hiccup was that this property did have some issues once it went through the inspection process. And we all know, if you don't know, let me tell you right now, an inspection will kill your deal in a heartbeat. Got one right now where I'm going to have to deal with the listing agent who's going to have to deal with the seller to deal with these issues, because people don't want to take on your problems. And so in this case, the inspection, see you later, the inspection issue came up on the foundation, and this foundation was 100 years old. So we didn't know. I mean, the tenant was in there. She was living fine. We didn't have any reason to go look at the foundation, but it did show up with some foundation issues. So my seller actually backed off of his $100,000 price. It was going to be about a $7,000 to $10,000 expense on the buyer side. So we just reduced the property and agreed that we would reduce the price to $92,000 and give an $8,000 credit back to the buyers. And that's how we handled that. Did not derail the deal. It did not scare this investor, who was actually an owner occupant. Did not create any issues other than a credit that went from the seller to the buyer to account for these problems that we just didn't have any awareness of. So we sold it for $92,000. It took 2 buyers. It took us when we finally got it in contract with a solid buyer, that closed in 3 or 4 weeks. So it didn't take very long to close it. The tenant was put on notice. And the bottom line is that this investor received, I would say, $37,000 approximately, or $9,200 times 4 on his initial cash in on this property. This is a property he paid $27,000 for. So by the time he got to the 4th year, not only had he received all his money back, but now he was up $9,200. And had he kept it any longer, he would have continued to be up $9,200 every year, and we could raise rents. But instead, what happened was he got ready, was very, very ready to sell it. At the end of the day, we sold the property, sold it for $92,000. That $92,000 on top of the $36,000 that he got, or $38,000 that he got, netted him, when everything was said and done, $127,000. And don't hold my numbers exact, because I did not give you the exact rents. I gave you an estimate. But bottom line is, when I ran the numbers yesterday, which were more closely related to the accurate numbers, it was $127,000 in this gentleman's pocket that he invested $27,000 in. Never had any major repairs done. He probably over the years he did some plumbing. He made minor repairs to keep Section 8 happy, but no big money spent on this property. So just to let you know what's possible. So who is this good for? Well, it's good for retirees who got late starting with their retirement money and savings for the future. It's also good for students who are now paying exorbitant rates, usually if they're living in tenant or student housing. It's good for people who want to create a nest egg or create cash flow so that they can bring a loved one home to manage family members. It's good for the investor, the brand new investor who doesn't want to take on big projects and a whole lot of risk. There's a fly here driving me crazy, y'all. It's good for, who else would this be good for? It would be good for an investor who's already experienced, as this one was, but just would rather get the cash flow, doesn't need the cash, would rather have the cash flowing in and not just taking the money, the immediate cash up front on a flip that has a lot of risk to it and a lot of unknown factors. This is who it's good for. So here's what I want to tell you. If this is something that you want more information on, and if you're an agent, let me just say this, because I think I forgot to say, it's good for the agents too to understand these cases so that they can learn how to serve their clients at the highest level. But if you're someone who's interested in this information, then what I want you to do is to give me a call at 614-778-8503. You do not have to live in the city of Columbus to invest in the city of Columbus. I don't know if we can duplicate that deal, but it is a more recent case study. I will tell you right now, the market is a seller's market, but like I said in the beginning, what goes up must come down. The market always corrects over time. And if this is something that you're interested in, you can call me at that 614-778-8503. You can text me at that 614-778-8503. And we can talk about what your needs are. And if you're not ready, by all means, send me an email so I can put you on our email list and I can keep giving you valuable content and just stay in contact with you so that when you're ready to do whatever you're ready to do in real estate, whether it's sell your home or if you are a first-time home buyer thinking about buying a home, I have a lot of people getting in touch with me asking me to help them get ready to purchase. So any of these things, and or if you are an agent who just wants to become, someone who brings exceptional value so that you can begin to stabilize your career, definitely give me a call. So it's Theresa. This is Ask Theresa. I want to bring you the most valuable information. If you found value out of it, please definitely like the Facebook Live feed. Definitely, you can go on the YouTube page and find other valuable episodes that we've just been given, as much information as we can to try to give you value. So if this is working for you, we're excited about that. We want to see you come back every single week after week, and hopefully share the information and build an opportunity, build a relationship with you so that in the future you have someone you can contact when you need us. So this is Theresa Barron. This is the second time we did this today. I want to tell you thank you so much for joining me on episode 5, and we will there's one of my neighbors. We will be seeing you next week, same time, same place, hopefully without the technical issues on Ask Theresa. See you soon. Bye-bye.